Hello everyone and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and today we're gonna go over 13 different hidden activation devices. So you can build these for yourselves on your survival world. They are all survival friendly. I try to make them as compact as possible and as simple to understand as possible. Some are a little bit more difficult than others, but just stick around to find out which one is best for you. And yeah, let's just get started. Number 1, the hose switch. So this design right here is fairly compact, and all you have to do to activate it is tilt the lamp right here, and as you can see, the lamp turns on, indicating that the system has triggered. So how this works is that a dirt block is solid while a path block isn't. So this torch would power the block, powering the piston, but when it becomes a transparent block, it can't power it anymore, so the piston retracts. Then it will power this piston, then pushing this block over it, resetting it to being a dirt block, so it's solid again, which powers this piston, making this retract, and then powering this again, which unpowers that. So you can see that happening really quickly. So this is how you build it. So you can just copy the design right here, and then you can use it in your world. Number 2, the Redstone Dust Key. This one is quite similar to the design I've just shown. It is maybe even simpler, but it's a little bit more difficult to understand the circuit. But what happens is when you place the redstone dust here, you can see that it powers the lamp. So what happens here is that it powers this block. When you place a redstone dust on top, what happens is that this will butt power this piston, which will make it extend. Then it breaks the redstone so it retracts again. It also powers this blocks, which turns on the lamp. So when we place the redstone torch here, you can see that it works perfectly fine. So if you want to build this for yourself, just copy this design. So it's a torch there pointing into the block and a piston. It has to be a sticky piston and a repeater, and you don't have to copy this lamp thing here, so it's just it's just these blocks here. You don't need to copy this lamp, just make this repeater go into whatever you want it to trigger. Number 3, the item reader. So this design is a little bit more complicated than the ones I've just shown, but it's still not that difficult to make. So what happens if you throw any item onto the floor here, it picks it up but nothing happens. This lamp didn't turn on. But when I take my extremely secure keycard, which is paper with a extremely difficult name, you throw it on and it does power the lamp. So how does this work? Well, we have a block with a rails and a hopper minecart. The rails make it so that it's a little bit higher, so it can pick items up through the block. It stays here, and what happens? This is just a standard. It's just a standard item filter. So what happens is we have these items in here. It has a signal strength of 1. When one more, none other item than this item can go in because the entire hopper is filled with them. When one more item goes in, the signal strength goes to 2, powering the repeater, unpowering the redstone torch, which makes it so that one of these items can go into this hopper, then go into the barrel. And because it's locked, none of these are going out at the moment. And then it goes to a signal strength of 1, powers the redstone torch on, and then these stay where they are. And then it also goes up here and powers the redstone lamp, as you can see. And it goes into the barrel, so you can have that go wherever you want. So if you want to build this, I'm just going to let you build that as well. And all you really need is a block that you need to throw it on. You need a hopper minecart sitting on top of a rail, sitting on top of a hopper. The hopper needs to be pointing into the comparator, otherwise the powering and unpowering of the redstone torches and the items inside are going to do some weird things, and sometimes it doesn't detect it. So it has to be pointing into the comparator. You have a barrel or a chest there with a hopper pointing into it. Redstone torch here, sitting on this block right here with a repeater pointing into it. The redstone dust, a top half slab with redstone dust, and then triggering whatever you want it to trigger. Number 4. I just blasted the minecart. So this one is pretty simple as well. All you need is a bow and some arrows, and you shoot into this little corner right here. Oh, I need to do that in survival mode actually. So there needs to be a minecart here. If you shoot this, turns on the lamp and replenishes the minecart. As you can see, you see it a little bit now. You don't have that all of the time. Right now it doesn't, but if you shoot with a bow and arrow in the corner right there, it will break the minecart, then turn on the lamp, and then the minecart will go into the hopper, going into this, and then it will be dispensed up and put back onto this rails. And if you have a wall here, it's completely invisible. So the way you build this is really simple. All you need is a wall right here. Then you need a rails sitting on top of a hopper, going into a dropper facing upwards, with a dispenser facing the rail. Then you need a minecart on top of the rail. Then you need a comparator facing out of the bottom dropper. So this one is pretty simple as well. You should be able to make this yourself, but this is a good time to mention that the world download of this world is in the description for if you want to check them out in a little bit more detail before you actually build them in survival, so you can play around with them yourselves. Number 5, the Spinny Thing. It looks complicated, but it's actually not. So what happens here is this comparator is reading the signal strength of the item's position, and then this comparator here, with this chest having items on the inside, the signal strength of this comparator goes into the side, which is on subtract mode. So because this signal strength is currently 1 and this is bigger, that means that no signal strength is outputted. But when it does, it goes into here. When that signal strength is 2, it will when the signal strength is 1, it will that will power the lamp. But when this signal strength gets to 2, it will lock it, so that's 0. So let me just demonstrate it. So still no input, still no output, still no output, and there we go, output. And then the next one, no output, no output, no output, no output. So this is really easy to build as well. You can just take this top-down view, and this chest can have any amount of items you want, depending on what position you want the correct position on the item frame to be. So you can use any item in here, but I'd recommend using something like an arrow, which points into a direction, which can be useful to remember the location that it has to point into. Number 6, the torch key. So this one is pretty similar to the Redstone Dust Key in the host switch, but it works a little bit differently, and this one can be really confusing to anyone that's new to redstone, because you'd be kind of confused if I told you that if I place a redstone torch on the side of this wall, that it actually powers the piston. It's kind of strange, but it is actually true. So what's happening here is this torch is then powering the piston, that then gets detected, this one breaks the torch, and that one turns on the lamp. So this is super easy to build. All you need to know is that is a sticky piston, not a regular piston. That's an observer facing the piston going into a repeater. The repeater has to be set to 2 ticks or higher, otherwise the torches won't be triggered. But if you just want a redstone line here, that is completely fine. Then you don't need those additional ticks. Number 7, hidden in plain sight. This one is one of the easiest, or the easiest on this list, because it doesn't really use any redstone at all. So how it works is that you have a landscape that looks a little bit like this. Obviously you can hide it way better than I did, but you have a stone button hidden behind the stone wall. Then you have a crop growing right here. Then you bone meal it a little bit so it's like this. You can press the button that's behind it, powers the lamp. I don't think I need to say anything else for this one. Number 8, the tree key. This one is really similar to the torch key, but the design is a little bit differently and maybe a little bit more well, it's not more compact, but it's definitely better for if you want to use it on a tree. You can use that design on this same tree, but it's a little bit different because it would retract the grass block, and this looks cooler. Look at that. And it does power the lamp. So what happens here is that it powers this piston, then pushes the redstone block out of the reach of this repeater, then unpowers the redstone, removing the redstone torch, then putting this on its place again, powering the piston again, pushing the lock back upwards, and this is just to run into your output. But do know that when the output is not there, so when no redstone torch is on the side of the tree, then the output is on. So you need to invert the signal by placing a redstone torch. So you need to remember that before you get confused. But this one is pretty simple to build as well. You can just take a look at it in the world download, or you can just look at this. Number 9, secret furnace. And this one is pretty old school and really simple to use. But what it is it's a furnace with some coal blocks in it, which can replenish. You don't need this for the system to work, but it's kind of useful. Then you have this same item filter again, going into this barrel, and then you have it run into your output. But what happens is in this item filter, you need to put the most obscure item you can ever smelt in a furnace. And that is redstone ore. Because why would you want to smelt redstone ore? Because even with a normal pickaxe, you can just get the redstone dust if you mine a redstone ore. And even if you have silk touch, then I would think you have at least either a regular pickaxe to mine it normally without the silk touch effect, or you'd have a Fortune 3 pickaxe. And yeah, so why would you want to smelt redstone ore to get 1 redstone dust, while mining it with a normal pickaxe would give you way more? So if we put this in here and let it smelt, we'll see it drop down into this system. There you go, you saw it. Redstone lamp turned on, and we have a redstone dust in the barrel. Number 10. I needed that. The title is pretty fitting because this is a little bit more complicated, and it's not for starters. Because this piston, you get a little bit confused if I tell you that this piston is extended while it's not powered. It thinks that it's powered, but it's not. So if we stand on the redstone block, it will give a block update to the piston, and this will happen. Yeah. So how it works is that this detector rail, what happens is that the redstone ore gives an update to the piston. The piston then thinks that, oh, I'm not powered, what am I doing? It just retracts, and then the observer detects that, powering this pulse extender, which pulls the pistons backwards, which makes it so that you drop down. Then this will retract. Then after the pulse extender has run out, this will get pushed forwards. Then this redstone dust is powered. Then the detector rail won't be here. It powers the block, powers the piston, And then what happens is that the detector rail gets pushed into the redstone dust, so the redstone dust runs into this direction, but the piston thinks that it's still getting powered by that redstone dust, but it's actually not. So when we place a block next to it, it retracts. The only downside, there are only a few downsides to this, and that is that when you stand on the redstone ore and the redstone ore is once again run out of the, well, it has stopped giving that update, then it will update the piston again, so it will trigger once again, but after that it will stay in this state. And another small flaw with this design is that well, you don't just have a random redstone ore in a grass field, so you'd either have to have this in a cave or in an exposed ravine or on a big mountain, somewhere in stone. And another small issue with this is that people would want to mine this redstone ore. They don't just leave it there, they're gonna mine it. So maybe you have this run into a trap, but not into your secret base, maybe. Or it needs to be miles away from your friends, but why would you create this in the first place? So, yeah. But the title's pretty fitting, because well, your friends are gonna be a little bit confused if they step on this to mine it and they just fall down. Number 11. Third time's the charm. And this one is a little bit more complex than the others, but it's pretty simple to understand. So if I put an item into here, nothing happens. Well, something happens, but you don't see anything. This lamp don't triggers. But if we put something in and out 3 times, so 1, 2, 3, then the lamp turns on. So how does this work? Well, what we have is a comparator reading the chest, then a redstone dust. So every time an item enters or leaves the chest, this observer will put an item into the top dropper. There are 3 items in here. Then this comparator reads that and outputs it into here. So when 3 items are in the top dropper, that means that this observer has triggered 3 times. So then the lamp turns on. Then, at the same time, when this observer triggers, this line activates. So after a few seconds after you take the item out, it will reset this dropper circuit. So if just someone that's curious comes in and just takes 1 item out or puts 1 item in, nothing will happen. Only if he does it 1, 2, 3. As you can see. And then it resets. So yeah, that's a pretty cool system. It's just a little bit more complicated than the other ones, and it's maybe doesn't have that many uses, but I thought I'd include it anyways because I thought it was a pretty fun concept. Number 12. Oh, now I'm poisoned again. And that name is pretty fitting as well, because if we look over here, we see a little pufferfish detector. So if we walk up to this wall, after a few seconds, the lamp will turn on. If we walk away, then we'll see the lamp turn off. So how does this work? Well, if you get close to a pufferfish, it will get bigger. So what we have here is a small pufferfish trapped in this fence so it can't escape, with the pressure plate on top. So when it gets bigger, it triggers the pressure plate, powering the lamp. It's as simple as that. But if you get too close to the pufferfish, you get poisoned, so that's why I called it that. Number 13. The musical blocks. And this one is pretty fitting as well, because this one is actually a rhythm key. So what happens is we have these note blocks, and we need to press them in the correct order from the one with the longest signal strength to the one with the lowest. And then the lamp will turn on, so you have to have a rhythm. So let me try this. No. Almost. Yeah, there we go. So this is really difficult to do right. This is one of the most secure locks in this entire list, except for the item lock and maybe the furnace. But this is extremely difficult to crack. Even if you know the order they have to be in, you need to time it exactly right. Because I know the order that you need to press them in, but it just... Yeah, there you go. Finally got it. So, yeah, this one is really easy to build. All you have to do is... so the one you need to press first needs to have the longest signal strength, then the one after... Then the one after that, then the one after that needs to have the lowest signal strength. They need to run into these torches, which makes an AND gate. Then it goes into an inverter, and then it goes into this redstone lamp, which can be anything you want. It can be a hidden door or anything else really. So yeah, that is my entire list of 13 different hidden activation devices you can make in your world today without spending too many resources on them, and with hopefully you understanding how they work and maybe learning a few different new redstone mechanics. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!